part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Could be up to the offensive line. No, Prince's going to throw for it. Got to get it off. They go for the ball game. Touchdown! Touchdown! Michael Jenkins! Holy Buckeye!
Tebow straight ahead into the end zone, and the Gators have put this one on ice.
Hello, and welcome to the Tim and Shipe Show. This is a college football podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We're part of the Press Play Podcast Network, and Tim Jones and I just love talking college football. We're going to be doing it for the next several minutes. I don't know why I said several minutes, probably close to an hour, hopefully, because it was a wild week in college football, and we're going to dive into it right now. But before we do, Tim Jones, how you doing, brother?
And Shipe, it's been a rough year in Gator Nation, but some changes happening this week. Hoping to kind of hit rock bottom and go up from here.
Yeah, you think this is rock bottom? I mean,
pretty close.
Yeah. What would be worse? I mean, if you didn't win any games, but I mean, what would it take to get Mullen fired? That's kind of where I was going there. Like, if it's not this, then what?
I mean, if they keep losing, the people that could have blamed have been let go. And so if we don't turn around at this point, we have 3 games left. We'll be favored heavily in all 3 of the last 3 games. If we don't win all 3, then I think Mullen's gone at the end of the year. There's already some rumblings from pretty high up in the Gators organization that makes it sound like he may walk away at the end of the year regardless.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, when you say that that you're focused on winning, you're not focused on recruiting, and then you don't win, that's a bad look.
Yeah, it's not a good situation, and it already wasn't a good situation. It keeps getting worse. He kept defending Grantham all the way up to this point when they finally were just like, no. And then what's interesting is Mullen came out and said that Strickland and the athletic director had nothing to do with it. It was Mullen who made the decision to let these guys go, the offensive line coach and defensive coordinator. But it's just interesting how he's defended them all season long, and now, he's apparently reached the point where he's like, all right, we got to make a change now. Yeah. So I don't know if he's playing for his job or just trying to do what he's told to do at the end of the year. We'll see what happens, but it's a weird situation.
Yeah, it is weird because if you think he's fighting for his job, then he's going to want to be back next year. He's not going to be looking for other jobs. But otherwise, why do you let those 2 guys go? If you don't care, if you're just kind of putting it in cruise control basically until the end of the season, you don't fire these guys. You make someone fire them. You make someone fire them, but you don't fire them if you're just cruising through the end of the season.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Like the way that things have been happening, the way things are being done. The only way I think that Mullen really can save his job at this point is if he brings some recruiters in, some guys who are actually interested in doing the recruiting. Mullen apparently has never seemed to really love doing that piece of it, and he hasn't been focusing on that piece. And the Gators have been decently good at recruiting regardless, situationally, but they brought in a couple of recruiters. The tight ends coach is a good recruiter, things like that to kind of help improve the team. But in general, it just hasn't been a focus. And they spend, I think, about a third of what Georgia spends right now just on recruiting. I think it's like $1 million to $3 million, that difference right now, just what they pay for that department. So I think it just shows Mullen hasn't put a lot of work into that. And I don't know if it's because he was fairly successful at Mississippi State, who doesn't have that kind of financial workings to be able to do that. And they don't have a lot of expectation there, honestly, with recruiting because of who they are. And I don't know if it's because he had this success there. He just assumed that would carry over to a better program, which in some ways I think he's had better talent, but he hasn't really tried to get the players he needs and piece it together to make it a whole team at one time.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Recruiting's the name of the game, and it's just a bad look for him all around, especially when you say what he said last week, and then you lose to South Carolina, who we were talking about how terrible they were all season.
Yeah, they're so bad.
Oh, it's just so bad. And yeah, the SEC is bad this year, Tim. The SEC is not good, but there's not really a great team in college football. I think it's fair to say. So you look at college football, and if I were to give you a test, Tim, and I were to say who's the best team in college football, you would answer
right now Georgia.
Georgia, no question, and that's the right answer. But and that's fair. But I think it's also fair to say that Georgia's offense is deeply flawed. You know what I mean? Like everyone's putting Georgia way up here. We've talked about this a lot, but I really think that Georgia's, when you watch them play, you even see inconsistencies. You see defenses when they actually turn it on, they're easily stopped. And so, yes, Georgia's the best team. But again, I'm going to stand by. I think that Alabama is a top 15 team. They're not a top 5 team even. I think they're one of the top 15. I'm going to stand by that. My overreactions are just rapidly becoming true more and more every week. You know, when I say that Alabama's a top 15 team and they go neck and neck to LSU, who's unranked, you know, they should have lost that. I don't know if they should have lost, but I mean, they had to stop them inside the 10-yard line. LSU was driving late. All they needed was a touchdown to win. So SEC, deeply flawed. And I can't wait for my overreaction because it's so good. It's so good. But yeah, so SEC's deeply flawed. And the Big Ten had a terrible week too. It was Michigan State went down to Purdue. Illinois beat Minnesota. Just a weird week in college football, Tim. What was your kind of assessment on it?
Yeah, I agree. It was a weird week all the way around. I think that Georgia was only major team who's in consideration for the top 4 right now, who actually blew out their opponent. And they struggled with Missouri in the first quarter. It was a really bad team.
Yeah.
So I think that just shows like this is a weird year. I think there's a lot of teams who are competitive and it could be week to week. We still have several weeks left. And I think that, you know, there's going to be some teams who lose in the next couple of weeks that it's going to change the landscape of the playoff this year. And so it's going to be a fun rest of the season. But I think that really I think any team you want to look at, you can find flaws in their game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Does Georgia have a signature win? Like when you look at their schedule, you think this is the win that sets them apart from everyone else. You want me to go through it real quick?
Yeah, I mean,
hit you with their schedule. So, Georgia, they beat Clemson by 7. That's looking ugly and uglier by the week. UAB, who cares? South Carolina, I mean, sorry to say, but who cares? Vanderbilt, who cares? Arkansas, that top 10 win is not looking like much of a top 10 win anymore. Auburn, again, I mean, they won handedly by 24. Kentucky, Kentucky just lost again. Florida, sorry, Tim, again, but Missouri, what's Georgia's signature win?
Well, I think that the Arkansas game was looking better now than not as good as it did at that point, but they just beat Mississippi State, who was ranked. At that point, it looked really good. The Auburn game is a pretty big win. Auburn's a decent team. And the way they handle Arkansas, the way they handled Auburn, I think is the key there. And then beyond that, I think in general, they haven't had, other than the Clemson game, which looks really bad now, outside of that, they have absolutely dominated on the scoreboard every single team they played. So I think that's where across the board, it's not, I don't know so much that, I mean, they have some good wins.
Yeah.
I don't know that, outstanding wins at this point. And during the season, it looked a lot better than they turned out to be. Mm-hmm. But across the board, the fact that outside of the very first game of the season, they've dominated their opponents, I think that's just a lot about their team.
Yeah. And I say that. So I think that they are winning the way they should be winning, but they're not the juggernaut that I think everyone thinks they are. Because again, I don't think the SEC is great.
Based on what though? What's based on what? Because you're just arguing that the Big Ten, they win their conference, these tough conference games. And then I get that you're saying we have these conference opponents who are tough to beat. So the same is true in any Power 5
right.
conference.
I was gonna get to that. That's my next point.
Okay.
Is that Ohio State also doesn't have that signature win. The worst part about them is that they have the best and worst thing is that they have a signature loss to a top 4 team that was really close, that came down to the wire. And if they, like I said, I think if they played 10 times, Ohio State wins 7 of those. But it was a signature loss to a top team. But Ohio State, not only does Ohio State not have the signature win they need, they don't have a signature moment where they handled a team the way Georgia has. Where they won by a lot. Right. So they don't have a signature win or signature moments, which I think it's going to come because Michigan's overrated in my eyes. So we're going to get 2 top 10 wins, and I think we're going to win them pretty convincingly late in the season. That's going to give us those signature moments. But as of right now, there's not a team in college football that I feel has a real signature win right now. Is that is that true to say? I mean, it's weird. It's incredibly weird, but I don't think that any team does.
Well, ironically, I think the signature win of the season right now would either be Oregon over Ohio State or Cincinnati over Notre Dame. Those are the two biggest wins
I like that.
of the season so far. And I don't want to pick one or two over the other. I just think those are the two biggest wins that come to mind immediately when you say that. But you're right. In general, there isn't a 1 versus 2. I think the conference championships, that's where it's gonna be interesting, because the way this season has played out, if Ohio State beats Purdue, that knocks the Big Ten West, their record, even worse. It makes it even worse. So Ohio State could potentially beat Michigan State, beat Michigan, go to the conference championship, and still not have a signature win at that point. In that game, I'm going to say in that game. Versus you have Georgia versus Alabama. If Alabama beats Georgia in a close game, now you're looking at two teams who would stay ahead of Ohio State in that situation.
Right. I mean, Ohio State, just get in, just keep winning, just get in. If you win out, you're in. But yeah, there's not a moment right now. And I think the Big Ten, I know they're not doing it on purpose, but they just can't get anything right for Ohio State this year. Penn State loses before they play Ohio State. Michigan State loses before they play Ohio State. It's just the Big Ten is so frustrating if you're an Ohio State fan. We're looking for these signature wins, and these teams just keep dropping the ball right before they play us. Saboteurs.
Played out.
Yeah.
So they're up against you. No, I think the one benefit you have is the Purdue game this past weekend looked a lot better. And I wouldn't be shocked if they end up in somehow number 25, which would help Ohio State's argument at that point a little bit.
Yeah, Purdue is honestly, they're punished right now because they schedule well. I say that because they scheduled teams like Notre Dame, Oregon State. They scheduled a tough non-conference, and they're kind of being punished by that. I mean, they lost to Notre Dame by 14, I think, if I'm doing my math right. And then they lost to Minnesota by a touchdown. So they beat Oregon State. They're a good stinking team. They did lose to Wisconsin, but Wisconsin is looking better and better each week. Looks like Ohio State, if Ohio State wins out, they're probably going to play Wisconsin in the championship game again. It's just, I think Purdue is turning out to be a really, really good team. And I'm glad. So part of me is kind of glad that Michigan State lost to Purdue, because now it kind of wakes Ohio State up. If Ohio State thought they were going to walk in, or that Purdue was going to come to town and just kind of roll over, now they know this is not a team to take lightly, because they just embarrassed Michigan State. They didn't just beat them. They embarrassed them last week. And so Ohio State better bring their A game.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you there. And the interesting thing is they play Northwestern and Indiana to finish the season, who are both bad teams.
Yeah.
And so if they somehow were to upset Ohio State, they win that division.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, it's still a shot, but they would win it for sure at that point.
Yeah. Well, they would end the season, if they lose to Ohio State, it all looks like they're going to end up 8-4. And they'll get a good bowl game, hopefully against an SEC team, and I think they'll smoke them. I think they'll smoke them. Anybody outside, I know, but anybody outside of Georgia, Alabama, Purdue, Nebraska, they could play with. That's part of my overreaction. I gotta stop leading into it. I'm teasing it too much. But Nebraska's a good team. Let's talk Buckeyes for a second. Nebraska's a really good team, and I knew that it was going to be close, which is why I picked Nebraska against the spread, because Nebraska's played 3 top 10 teams this year, and it's been within 10 points each time, including Ohio State. It's been within 10 points. Michigan State, 3-point wins, and then Penn State was like a 7-point loss. Sorry. Yeah, so Nebraska is tough, and that's why Nebraska is keeping Scott Frost for another year. He got another year. He got a small contract extension, and he's got to do something next year. But they're moving in the right direction. You're 1 score away from beating 4 different teams. Well, 2 scores for Ohio State, so 1 score for 3 teams.
Yeah, I just have a hard.
They were good, man. Their defense was good.
I have a hard time saying they're a good team. They're not a good team. They have lost a lot of close games. It does not make them a good team.
They're tough.
There's a difference between the two.
No, they're a tough team, Tim.
It's a convenient thing to say when you're saying, because you want your conference to look better, you want your team to look better. Of course, you're going to say that. Like
Tim.
That doesn't make them a good team. They're not a good team. They're a team who have played their opponents well. It does not make them a good team.
What does make
good teams don't? Good teams
that
don't
play
lose
their
5
opponents
games
well. That's what makes you a good team. If you play your opponents well, you're a good. If you play tough opponents well, especially, you're a good team. If you play top tier opponents really well, that makes you not elite, not a top team, but a good team. We've had this. This is a semantic argument. And
so the Detroit Lions lose every game of the season, but they play 5 of those games within a touchdown. They're a good team, right?
I don't know. When you talk NFL, my ears start to bleed.
It doesn't matter what you can do the same game in college. Is what Nebraska's doing right now. You play a bunch of games close, but you still lose. You're a good team.
It means you're close.
We lost a lot of really close games this year. We must be a good team.
Nebraska is close. They're right
close
there.
They're close to being a good team.
They're right
I'll
there.
Give you that.
They're close.
But they're not a good team.
They're close to being a competitor. Like if they win those games.
No, they are a competitor. They're a competitor because they're playing competitively in those games.
No, I mean they're a competitor at the top. They're close to being a competitor at the top if they win those close games.
So we expect Nebraska to win their division next year? Is that where we are? We're going to give them that kind of credit?
Yes.
Stop.
Yes. Out on the limb right now, Nebraska wins the West next year.
I feel like you said this like 2 years ago, and it hasn't gone well.
Nebraska
They're not a good team. They have played some close games. Yes. Does that make them a good team? No. It means people are playing down to the competition. That's where we are.
Nebraska, worst to first. Calling it right now, Tim.
Oh man.
Take it to the bank. Take it to the bank.
Made a mistake.
Nope. All right. So anyway, player of the game for me on offense is clearly Jackson Smith and Jigba. Had a record-setting game. 15 catches, 250 yards, just unbelievable performance. And for somehow he wasn't named Big Ten Player of the Week. I don't think an Ohio State player, I may be wrong. Maybe one time an Ohio State player all season has been Player of the Week in the Big Ten, and it's getting kind of ridiculous. You have he broke the record for number of catches in a game at Ohio State, and he's not. I mean, come on. What are we doing here, Big Ten? Anyway, defensive player of the game, Tyreek Smith. Man, having him back is just a difference maker. He is pushing people around. He's getting held because these guys, they just can't keep him. And he's not getting the calls for it. But if you watch the film, rewatch the game, you can see he's getting held every time. And it's egregious, and they're still not calling him. He even said it in his presser that it's getting frustrating not getting those kinds of calls. And he still finds a way to make an impact on the game. Having him back at defensive end is huge. So it's really exciting. Buckeye fans, tough stretch ahead of us, but I think we can do it. CJ Stroud, it was nice to see him get a little bit fired up. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter and different media sites talking about his lack of competitiveness, comparing him to JT Barrett, who was just a fiery guy who you knew wanted to win at all costs. You just you don't see that out of CJ Stroud, but at the end of the game, you could tell he was disappointed in himself. In his presser after the game, they asked him like, hey, when you see opportunities to run, why don't you? And his response was, if coaches wanted me to run, they would have made me a running back, but my job's to throw the ball. I mean, it's true to a certain extent, but it really does add an extra layer that the defense has to cover. It is, but I don't think he likes getting hit. He doesn't like getting hit. And that was clear because to me, it was clear because Ryan Day came out on his radio show after he was like messing with his shoulder early. Remember, he took that week off for that shoulder injury. And Ryan Day, before he took the week off, said, he's got to get used to this level of football. Justin Fields, he was getting hit. He had to adjust and get used to it. CJ Stroud has to do the same. And that's not verbatim what Ryan Day said, but that was the gist of it. And because I don't think that CJ Stroud likes to get hit. I think that's why he doesn't run the ball. He sits back, tosses it out there. So, but he's true. I mean, it's right. I'd rather him be a good thrower than a good runner. But at the same time, it does make those zone reads a little bit more unpredictable when you actually keep it. It's not really a zone read if you're just going to hand the ball off every time. It's
All right. Well,
anyway,
we talked about it briefly, but what else do you look forward to in this game against Purdue?
I look forward to seeing how Purdue. Honestly, I'm more interested to see how Purdue does. How are they? How good are they really? I think they're good. The spread is 20 points. I looked ahead at the Ohio State spread. It's 20 points, and that's a lot. I know the Buckeyes can score, but so could Michigan State, and they got smoked. So our defense is turning it on. I'm really eager to see Steel Chambers. Steel Chambers, this is, gosh darn it, I'm going to give away another one of my overreactions, but Steel Chambers has turned into the best linebacker on Ohio State's football team. He is a difference maker. He just has an eye for the ball. And so I want to see him. He had to sit out half of this game because of a targeting penalty in the previous game. So I'm excited to see how he does again if he gets the start, because I think he's just been in the rotation. I don't think he started, but I think he's going to get the start this upcoming week. And Purdue historically has had great passing games, and so our DBs need to be ready. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. Tim, what are you looking for in Samford this week?
Against Samford? Because they're coming to us.
Yeah, you know what I meant.
It's a big game. It's a big game for us.
It's a big one?
It's a big game. Look for us to really rebound versus I think they're Bulldogs. I don't even know. No, I mean, there's a lot going on in Florida right now, obviously. Grantham getting fired last night. The offensive line coach getting fired last night. It's interesting. I've seen the reports about how many players were sick for Florida this week with the flu, and for real, like that's legitimate. Unfortunately, like
are they sick, or do they just not want to play anymore? Are they like?
Okay, that's ridiculous. We both know that's ridiculous. No, seriously, like 20 to 30 players with flu-like symptoms, IVs. Some players couldn't even get off the bus to play the game. Like it was, unfortunately, very legitimate. It's no excuse. Like nobody's saying that's why we lost. I'm just saying like that did happen. Terrible timing, unfortunately, in this game. On top of that, Richardson, who had been cleared to play after concussion last week, like it's just one of those crazy, like, is this really happening kind of seasons where Richardson Friday night before the game Saturday, was dancing at the hotel and hurt his knee. So that's why he didn't play on Saturday. But that's embarrassing true.
Oh my gosh.
So he was dressed, like he was able to play if they needed him to, but that's why he didn't play in the game, because he hurt himself dancing Friday night at the hotel. So that's been confirmed. That I didn't make that up. It's not coming from me. That's coming from sources who actually were there. So, just an unbelievable season. It just seems like it's one thing after another. Whether or not Mullen wants to be there next year, we'll see. It doesn't seem like he's very invested in it, and no excuses. We got blown out. Our defense looked terrible again. Just let them score as often as they wanted, and in typical fashion, Emory Jones played okay. 258 yards and 2 touchdowns with an interception. Our rushing game did absolutely nothing. I think our first 7 plays were passing. Like we didn't even try to run the ball.
You don't have a running game. You just don't have it. We've seen it all season.
We did the beginning of the year, and that's why the offensive line coach got fired, because we did it the first several games. Even against Alabama, you were there. We dominated the running game in that game. Since then, we haven't even tried. And I know we've had some injuries, but it's no excuse. So we don't even attempt anymore. Like they've just gotten farther and farther away from the running game, and it's just getting embarrassing.
Yeah, your quarterbacks have been your leading rushers, man.
Emory Jones has been our leading rusher all season long, and it's embarrassing. And that's where I think everyone at the university knows some changes had to be made. I think there'll be several more by the end of the year, and they're just trying to figure out how to do it without losing any momentum they would have in recruiting potentially, and trying to, not lose all the players they have with the way this whole portal system is now. You can lose everybody in a second. Right. So they're trying to maintain the talent that they have, but also move forward and get better. So I don't know. I don't have the answers. I wish I did. I wish I was like, here's what we need to do. I don't even know who we would bring in to replace Mullen. Right. At this point, it's like anybody whose name doesn't start with M would be better, because the last 4 coaches that we had. So I don't know what that's about, but it just, I don't even know. I don't have the answers right now. I'm just in that, like, is this really happening phase at this point where it's embarrassing and it's sad, and we should be dominating the state of Florida. and we're not even doing that effectively. So it's unfortunate.
Is Florida still a top tier job?
Yes.
It's still, you put it on the same level as Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson. Florida's right there with them.
I say if you're saying who are the top 10 schools in the country for coach to destination, I think Florida definitely is in the top 10, no question.
Top 10?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I'm not trying to be biased here. I'm saying, what can you name 10 other schools that you would say consider a destination job above Florida? I don't even know if you consider USC a top destination at this point. There's been so many coaches who are like, yeah, I don't really want that job. You know, I'm looking at like USC, Texas, any school like that. Are you saying you would want to go there over Florida right now?
I'm going to try to name them.
Okay.
All right. Alabama, number 1. Georgia, Clemson, Ohio, not in this order because I think
that's fine.
Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State. Do you put Oregon up there because of the Nike affiliation?
I mean, you can. They've been on and off.
Yeah, they're hit or miss. Just for the sake of my numbers here, Oregon, Texas, Oklahoma, LSU, Michigan.
You think Michigan's a higher job?
Yeah, I think Michigan is higher than
Michigan's
Penn
been
State.
relevant in
Michigan,
20 years.
Yeah, but they still have pull because
I don't know if they do though. I really don't know that they do.
I think they do. I think in the North, if you're going East Coast North, you're going Michigan, Ohio State, and I think that says a lot. In the North, I think Michigan has more of a pull, and because I don't think Florida's reaches as far as Michigan. I think Michigan is a better job than Florida.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's maybe it's regional bias for you. I don't see that. I don't hear about Michigan at all here. Like, I don't hear people saying Michigan's a big job right now. I hear some from USC. I hear LSU. I haven't heard, even with Jim being on the hot seat for the last 2 seasons, I haven't heard that job as being like, man, I can't wait for that to become open because there's so many people who are waiting for the opportunity.
If you're Luke Fickell or Matt Campbell and you have to choose between Michigan and Florida, which one are you choosing?
Fickell might go Michigan because of the regional affiliations. I don't think Campbell would.
I think he would. I think he would go Michigan too over Florida.
Yeah, I think the only reason they might is there's more competition in the SEC versus the Big Ten. That's the only reason they might consider it.
Give me a break.
No, I'm serious. I'm dead serious right now. There's Alabama, there's Georgia. You know, there's more competition with Florida State and Miami versus Michigan's competition is Ohio State. They're going to lose every time.
Yeah, but that doesn't help your argument. I mean,
I'm saying
because of the competition, Florida is not a top 10 job. Is that? I mean, that's not because of the competition, but the competition being one of the stipulations, one of the roadblocks. People would choose Michigan. I think coaches would choose Michigan over Florida.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anything that would suggest that at all. As far as I'm not saying that makes Florida a top 10 team. I'm saying I don't consider Michigan a top 10 team.
I would put Michigan on the same tier as Penn State. I think they're on the same.
Do you think Penn State is a top 10 program right now?
No, I don't. No.
You just said Michigan was higher than the top 10 and Florida wasn't though.
Right.
I said saying top 10. You missed.
I said.
No, I'm saying.
I didn't say Penn State was in the top 10. I didn't mention Penn State.
Well, I just asked you if Michigan and Penn State are in the top 10.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear Michigan. I said Penn State is not a top 10.
Okay. But Michigan's on the same tier as Penn State?
No, Michigan is higher than Penn State. Michigan, you can't, if you're listening, you can't see my hands, but they're about 6 inches apart, on my tier. Like I would say put Michigan here, Penn State and Florida here. Like I think.
Oh, you said Florida's in the same tier as Penn State.
As Penn State, yes. Florida, Penn State, I think are on the same tier. My hands are level now if you're listening.
You think Michigan's a better job right now than Penn State or Florida?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Based on what? Like what makes you say that?
Based on recruiting, based on clout, based on it's all about recruiting, right? Recruiting's the name of the game. If you can recruit well, you can win. And I think it's easier to recruit to Michigan than it is Penn State or Florida. Yeah, that's my basis.
That's crazy to me. All right. Well, agree, disagree. I don't think that's I think that's a regional bias.
I wish we had a poll. I wish we could put a poll. I wish we had enough listeners to put a poll out there
Put a poll out there.
Put a poll out there. If you're listening, vote on our poll at the Tim and Shipe Show on I'll put it on Twitter, you put it on Facebook.
Okay.
All right. What's a better coaching job? How should we word it? If you're Matt Campbell and Luke Fickell, which coaching job would you take, Florida or Michigan?
I'm not sure Matt Campbell is as a hot commodity as he was a year ago.
I know. We've talked about that Matt Campbell, that was one of my overreactions that again is coming true. My overreactions are really just truth bombs that nobody wants to admit yet.
So, yeah. Anyway, bottom line, Florida, rough year, rough game.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll at least make some improvements by this season and build on that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's get to our overreactions, Tim Jones. I wish we had some kind of soundbite. Overreactions. Wah, wah, wah. Anyway, let's get to it.
Yeah.
That was lame. I'll cut that. All right. First overreaction for me, Nebraska and Purdue would be second and third in the SEC East this year.
It's the dumbest overreaction I've ever heard.
Second and third. They would
Ridiculous.
be, yeah.
Nebraska?
Yep.
The 3-win
1,000%.
Nebraska team would be the second ranked team in the SEC.
Yes. And no, in the SEC West.
East, I mean.
Sorry. Yes,
in the SEC that's not true. Florida has a better record against better opponents without that garbage. Get out of here with that.
They would be second and third.
That's BS. Like, Florida's not even the third best team in the SEC East, and they would destroy either of those teams right now. And they're a bad team right now.
Nope. SEC East. Let me break it down for you.
I know.
Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida, Missouri, Vanderbilt.
That's what I'm saying. Florida's not even a top 3 team in the SEC East, and they would destroy either of those teams right now.
You're wrong. You're wrong. Tim, how can you even say that after you just lost to South Carolina? South Carolina's 2-4 in the SEC.
Okay.
They beat Vanderbilt by 1 point. 1 point, Tim. Before they played Florida, they lost 44-14. Yeah. Florida is bad, Tim. Florida is bad.
Okay. I'm not disagreeing with you.
That's how Nebraska
bad
or Purdue.
That's how bad Nebraska and Purdue are.
You're living in denial, man. Denial's not just a river in Egypt, Tim.
That's an overreaction to the extreme. It is wrong.
That's truth. That's a truth bomb that you're not ready to hear.
Get out of here. No, it's not true. It's not. No, it's ridiculous.
Yes,
Get out of here. Get out of here with that.
I wish you could come to real life, Tim. Come to reality and see how good Nebraska and Purdue are.
You need to stop listening.
How bad the SEC East is.
No. You need to stop listening to Midwest local sports radio.
This is all me. No one else is saying this but me.
Get out of here.
I'm the only one. This is an Aaron Shipe intellectual property right now. Trademark, TM, whatever I got to do, copyright.
Listen to
this
Redneck
is an Aaron
Ohio Sports Radio. That's where that's coming from.
Redneck Ohio. You sound like never mind. All right. Tim, overreaction.
The Big Ten's bad.
Get out
period.
of here.
With their losses, losing to inferior opponents consistently, like all the trash that you try to say about the SEC, the Big Ten's worse in all those areas.
No, they are not. I can't wait till bowl season. Oh my gosh.
You said that last year. I keep bringing this up. Like, you always, every year do this, and like once again last year, it blew up in your face when the SEC lost like one bowl game, and it was a Florida team that lost half their team to the NFL.
Just wait, Tim. This bowl season, Iowa. So here's what's going to hurt. Here's what's going to hurt the Big Ten a lot. Like we said, Michigan. To an extent, yes. Michigan State, Penn State is better than their ranking. Purdue is better than their ranking. Nebraska is better than their ranking. And Illinois is better than their ranking.
Yeah.
Okay. Our bottom teams are better than their ranking. Our top teams are not. Michigan State, not a top 5 team. Michigan, not a top 10 team. Iowa, not a top 25 team. So our top tier teams are going to look bad in the bowls, but our bottom level teams are going to look really, really good.
So the balance out and be 5-5 like usual.
Something like that. But it's going to look bad because our top tier teams are not as good as what their ranking is. So they're going to get matched up against, honestly, though, if they get matched up against Kentucky, they'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll see.
Florida is bowl eligible.
If they win out, they will be.
If they win out, they will be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Luckily for you, Illinois, upset Minnesota, so you don't have to worry about them making the Big Ten look bad. At least not to the same level.
Yeah. Yeah. So Anyway, my overreactions are hardly even overreactions. It's just truth bombs. And the Big Ten is not bad. The Big Ten.
Okay, sorry, they're false
Is a
top
mixed
heavy.
bag.
When it balances out, the top's not going to be that good, and the bottom will be better, and so they'll be average at best. And they'll be 5-5 in the bowl games. It'll be great.
But
They're
Ohio
so good.
State wins the national championship this year.
Okay,
Yeah.
heard that before.
They should have won in 2019.
They only win with a third string quarterback.
Yeah, no. Our third string quarterback got arrested for an OVI.
Ooh,
Jack
Miller.
Miller. Yeah, Jack Miller got, I don't know. It's not news at this point. Everybody knows. But Jack Miller, our third stringer, OVI, suspended from the team. So that puts Quinn Ewers, third string QB, man. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is, but
You don't know who
he's
Quinn
probably
Ewers
pretty
is?
good.
He's like that freshman phenom who left college.
Oh, the guy who got
left high
paid.
school early. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he get paid, and he got a free truck out of it
Right.
by Reichert. So more power to you. Live
Good for
on,
him.
young man. Yeah.
All right. Good to know.
Yep. Any more overreactions, Tim? I have one more. Do you want me to give my last one? And I've already kind of
Sure.
given it. Steel Chambers, best linebacker on Ohio State's football team.
What?
Yeah, you don't care, but Steel Chambers is he's incredible. Like when he's in there, you can tell differences. The defense is on a different level. So Steel Chambers, best linebacker on the team. Overreaction.
All right. Okay.
Because this is his first year at linebacker. If you know the story behind Steel Chambers, Tim, he was a running back. He came he came in as an athlete. They put him at running back. He was like fourth string running back. He switched to linebacker, and now he's the best linebacker on the team. So,
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Present. All right. Well, my last overreaction is, unlike I would say the last 10 years, it feels like this year it's all about who gets hot at the end of the season, like the NFL more than ever. Like the past years, it's been like, well, this team is so much more talented than everyone else. As long as they play pretty well, they're going to dominate. And now it's like anybody can get hot right now and finish out the season and win the national championship. I think any of the top 10 teams potentially could, and that's where we are. And it's gonna be a crazy finish to the year.
Yeah, I like that. Whoever gets hot at the end. Yeah, I like that. Yep, very good, very good. All right, moving on. Next segment, our picks against the spread. Tim, tell us all about last week.
Last week was not
I'm
a great
smiling
week for
ear
me.
to ear.
I only won big when it mattered, and not in college, unfortunately.
That's right.
With our
That's
picks.
right. That's right.
Well, we had the Ohio State-Nebraska game. I took Ohio State to win by 15 or more. You did not, and Nebraska covered there.
Yep.
The Auburn game, I picked to win outright. You had Texas A&M minus 4.5, and Texas A&M dominated Auburn on some weird plays in that game too.
Yep.
In the final game, we both picked Florida to cover against South Carolina. I really didn't want to. I don't know why I didn't switch that. But we both picked Florida there. So now you were up by 2 points because we were tied going into this week. So this coming week, we have 5 more games, which you don't even know about yet.
Oh my gosh.
So you're
I know
hearing
about
it
2.
live and in person. You know about 2. So we'll start there. Purdue against Ohio State. Ohio State is minus 20, which you already mentioned in this game at home. Who do you have?
Purdue. Ohio State's going to win, but not by 20.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you. I mean, I think we kind of already knew this before we even started recording tonight. I think that it's going to be a little bit closer. I think Ohio State's going to go by like 17. That's what I'm calling right now. 17 points.
I say maybe 10.
10. Okay.
Maybe 10.
Yeah, that wouldn't shock me. All right. Well, then we have Florida hosting Samford, which I think are the Bulldogs, maybe?
Yes, they are the Bulldogs.
Yeah. See, I knew it. See,
You're so smart.
Stored away. Florida at home is favored by 31.5. Which way are you going here?
31.5. I'll take Florida.
I'm taking Florida. I think that the changes they made this week, I think people are going to be fired up. Hopefully, semi-healthy.
Yeah, hopefully
and
they
ready to
get over the
play.
flu.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I don't think 31. I told you before the game, before we did this, that I thought the spread should have been around 43.
Yeah.
This game. So yeah, I go Florida.
Yeah, I think Florida will hopefully prove me right and just show up and be ready to play the last 3 games and improve consistently. Finish out the year strong at least.
Yeah, I mean they can go one of 2 directions, right? They can totally crash and give up, or they can try to get bowl eligible.
Yeah, and I think they have a fiery team who wants to be competitive.
Okay.
It just hasn't worked out this year at this point. They've had a couple rough games in a row, and I think they're ready to play. So
Okay.
we'll see how it goes. But then we have number 8 Oklahoma going to number 12 Baylor. Oklahoma on the road is favored by 5.5.
Oh, this one's tough. On the road, give me Baylor on this one.
Team Baylor 5.5.
Yep.
I am actually going to go Oklahoma this time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That one, that's tough. 5.5 is a lot though. On the road.
It is on the road. So to win by a touchdown on the road to cover there. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to be, or even by 6, but that's going to be an interesting game. 5.5 is a good number there.
Yeah.
All right. So we have number 17, Mississippi State, going to number 13, Auburn. Auburn at home is favored by 5.5.
Auburn 5.5. Mississippi State.
So I went back and forth about this one for a long time, and I thought you were going to say Auburn just because you thought Mississippi State was going to lose, but Mississippi State just upset. Who did they beat this week? Arkansas. They just beat Arkansas, and I expected them to lose that game, but I am going to take Auburn to win this game by a touchdown.
Ooh.
So I think it's going to be a good game potentially. It's close, but I think that at the end of the day, I'm going Auburn second week in a row. Don't let me down this time. Upset Mississippi State.
Okay.
And the last game we have number 19 North Carolina State traveling to number 9 Wake Forest off of a loss. Wake Forest is favored by 2 at home.
2?
2. I'll tell you right now, I'm taking Wake Forest.
I'm taking NC State.
Nice.
So we'll have at least one, even if we split.
Yeah, we have 3 games right now. So hopefully we at least have a point one way or the other.
Yeah. All right. It's going to be good. 3 games. Tim, I could jump up by 5 potentially and pretty much put a lock on the season. Can't wait.
Or I could take the lead right here.
Or you could just jump ahead and take the lead. Knowing us, you're probably going to take the lead and then just run away with it, and I'm going to be stuck in the cold buying you another jersey.
I love it, man. I feel good about you this year.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I feel good about the Buckeyes. I feel good about Florida. I feel good about college football because it's anybody's game right now. Anybody could win. Why not Ohio State, right? Anybody can do it. But I don't know. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. And we can't wait to spend it. I can't wait to spend it with you, Tim. And I can't wait to spend it with you, our listeners. So thanks so much to all of you. We appreciate the heck out of everyone who's listening. Thank you to Press Play Podcast Network and everyone involved in making this podcast happen. We appreciate the heck out of you. And we'll catch you next time.